channel 251. Remember to download both the Barnburner and ZingoTV app in the respective app store on iOS and Android. And ZingoTV, they're also available on Roku Sticks, Amazon Fire TV Sticks, Google Chromecast, and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Welcome to Barnburner Live. Before we start, for all the fans who are watching and listening to this, happy Hanukkah. Have a great 8 days. And John Nelson has promised me my gelt. Where's my gelt?
That's the second show in a row that I've heard that being mentioned for part and parcel to the holiday. So
that's that. You know how you get Christmas presents?
Yeah,
the Hanukkah presents. That's what they call gelt.
Ah,
and I'm not talking about chocolate money. All right, I'm not talking about chocolate money. I don't know if you know this. I don't need chocolate. Okay, I don't need chocolate.
I really don't either.
I need money.
Once every 90 days or something, I'll get like the Reese's, and I'll have that for part of the discussion. But no, I'm not a big chocolate guy, to be perfectly honest with you.
All right. First of all, thank you for joining us. I just want to say this: our producer, who's producing the show, Teresa, is leaving us. This will not be her last show on Barnburner Live. She's been amazing. Any words you want to say to Teresa?
I mean, you pretty much covered it. And to be a producer for a network that pretty much runs 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and being part and parcel to make sure that everything goes as well as it can on two separate networks, it takes a lot of wherewithal and a lot of expertise and a great attention to detail. You're definitely going to be missed for everything that has been able to go down here at Barnburner and the H.E.R network. So we'll be keeping an eye on you, and I know that there'll always be a light on the front porch every single time that you want to hop in.
All right, I echo those sentiments. All right, I brought John Freeman Nelson from OSG Sports in Atlanta, our good friend, one of the Hall of Famers. Thank you, John, she says. All right, one of the Hall of Famers for Barnburner, because I don't know if you know this, John. It's the MLS Cup.
I did not know that.
You did not know that. This is why I brought you here.
You know that.
Even though you got hours and hours and hours of programming, the OSG soccer down here, soccer over there, soccer up here, soccer down there, whatever. Okay, hours and hours you provide Barnburner with programming. I don't know if you know that, but you probably did not, and I know you did not. Only guy who predicted the finals is me. All right, it was me.
Oh, well, I knew there was going to be a final. I just didn't predict who was going to be in it. I had Seattle. I didn't have Columbus.
Yeah, well, I say if Toronto doesn't make it, I was saying Columbus because Columbus has Toronto's former GM. That's why Columbus was going to make it.
Okay.
All right. So I brought you on here to break down the MLS Cup final Saturday, my dad's birthday. So happy early birthday to my dad. Go ahead, John.
Well, I mean, you look at Columbus, and I still have questions. I really do. Obviously, when you've got ZZ up top with Zardes and Zelarayan, you know that they can get things done when you have a Darlington Nagbe in the middle as that midfielder that can get any kind of an opportunity created offensively for Columbus. I know that's the dangerous part of that offense. And you look at the back, you have guys like Williams and Offal and Mensah. And for me, once again, that's what's gotten Columbus part and parcel to where we are. The larger question for me when it comes to Columbus is between the sticks. Eloy Room has not been in net the last two matches because he's recovering from COVID-19 and having to go with COVID-19 protocols with Major League Soccer. So Andrew Tarbell has been in net the last two matches, and he's done very well. Wasn't really challenged at points in the Eastern Conference Final. Was challenged more in the semi. How does Andrew Tarbell respond? And this is your main question. We all know when we're talking about playoffs that you like to have a hot goalie, and right now you're getting that in Andrew Tarbell. With Eloy Room, if Eloy Room is ready to go, then do you sit there and put the number one back in with Eloy Room, or do you stick with the hot hand in Andrew Tarbell? That to me is one of the questions that
if you were, I would stay with the hot hand. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, and I would too. But once again, if something happens early and there's a goal put on the board by Seattle, how does Tarbell respond? And so that to me is part of the dynamic that I've got when it comes to Columbus. When you look at Seattle, it's Morris and Rui Diaz and Nico Ladero. And there are, folks at the back, Nuhu Tolo, at Soccer Down Here, we have the Nuhu Tolo bingo card, because you have moments where Nuhu can come in for a strong challenge, create a turnover, and get something going in transition for Seattle. But then there are moments when his brain goes walkabout, and he just does some silly things, whether it's a turnover, a yellow, just a dumb challenge. Those kinds of things raise concerns when it comes to Seattle defensively. They brought in Arriaga, they brought in Andrade to help things out at the back. And when you go back to the Western Conference final against Minnesota United, for me, I think that, Adrian Heath, and I haven't really seen a whole lot of it after the fact, Adrian Heath needs to be brought to the fore for not bringing in more defensive help. You had a 2-0 lead. Will Bruin comes in, and Will Bruin is like Benny Johnson from the Detroit Pistons, and I just dated myself with that reference. He's a microwave coming off the bench. So he comes in, and a couple of minutes later scores. It's 2-1. Adrian Heath still does not bring in defensive reinforcements to try to hold a lead, sticks with the lineup that he's got. And so you're getting into all of this push that Seattle's getting into, and they're just pushing everything forward. And then off a set piece on a corner on the near side, I still have no earthly idea to this day how Raul Rui Diaz was not marked at the back post, left alone. I mean, there was green space all around him, puts it in the net. It's 2-2. Once again, Adrian Heath still does not substitute in defensive help to preserve a tie, to get you to extra time, to see if you can win it in the final, in the following 30. Another set piece happens from the opposite side. Gustav Svensson, who's come in for his first appearance after not being healthy for the last little while, comes in. He gets it. Dabasi is late in marking him, and Svensson puts it in. It's 3-2. Minnesota United had a golden opportunity to make it to MLS Cup and be in Columbus instead of Seattle, but the lack of a lineup change, when Brian Schmetzer changed his lineup and his approach, knowing he had to have two late, that speaks volumes to me about Minnesota United. They had a chance, and Adrian Heath did not respond in that situation. And so you have Seattle, who has adapted the mindset of their manager. And Brian Schmetzer, to me, always just kind of comes across as a guy who will sit there. He's like the librarian. He's the IT guy. He's the guy who has the cubicle in the corner that all he does is take notes at meetings. He doesn't really speak up, but he's always there taking notes, and he knows what to do and what to say at the right time. And I think that Seattle has taken the personality of their manager. And you see what they're doing with Brian Schmetzer. They're down 2-0. They don't get bent out of shape. And it's like, okay, we're down 2. Let's just do what we do. We'll make some changes and get things going. And you get the goal. You're down 2-1. Okay, we got some momentum. You get the goal, and it's 2-2. All right, we got more momentum. We've still got a couple of minutes. And it's in stoppage time when you get this third goal that gets you to MLS Cup. And I think that you can ride that kind of momentum into Columbus. I think the weather's supposed to be close to 0, maybe in the low numbers, like 1 or 2 degrees at game time. Because remember, this is 8:30 Eastern time in Columbus, Ohio on Saturday night. So it's going to be cold. And, I think that Seattle, with their momentum, I think that Columbus just kind of took care of business against New England. And for me, I'm leaning towards Seattle right now. And that's not going to change, just because they've been here before. And they know what to do in this situation, and their stability getting into MLS Cups helps them in this situation where Columbus hasn't been there for a while.
Well, how come not many people are talking about Seattle? Because I don't have to tell you, year after year, you could pencil them in. It's like the New England Patriots till this year.
Yeah.
You could pencil them in the MLS Cup like you penciled New England into the Super Bowl, okay? But not many people are still talking about the Seattle Sounders. Why?
I don't know. I mean, the easiest answer that I can give you is the fact that they're in Seattle, Washington, because, I mean, right now you and I are talking about them, and it's 5:15 in the afternoon. it's just because they're over there. Well, actually, for me, it would be because they're over there on the other end of the planet. They're just kind of off in a corner someplace, and they're not getting the respect that they deserve for having made it to another MLS Cup with Brian Schmetzer as their head coach. And honestly, one of the larger subplots of this week is Brian Schmetzer is out of contract at the end of this season. There have been discussions. There's been a little contentiousness when it comes to how things are going right now with negotiations. And last time I looked, Schmetzer is making about $600,000 a year. Definitely deserves a raise. He's a Seattle lifer. And right now, with Schmetzer's future in flux, no one is talking about this right now, where you could lose the conductor to all of the success that you've had over the last handful of years unless you do something relatively quickly, or at least by the end of the season, calendar year, what have you, so you can prepare for next season in all of its many forms. I have heard word zero about Brian Schmetzer and his contract situation, which I think should be one of the larger stories that we have.
So that leads me into another question. Some team where I live needs a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be?
Well, it's two separate tacks, and I think that any team right now that is looking for a manager or could be looking for a manager, I think that if you don't have a discussion with Greg Vanney or his representatives, I think that you're doing your job search a disservice. DC with Vanney, I think that they're not going to be spending big dollars on any kind of a manager, and that's why you're seeing the discussions that you are about Seattle's number one. Possibly being in the discussion, while you're seeing Chris Armas, former head coach of the Red Bulls, in this discussion. Although that's like hiring, I think it was described on the show like hiring Sean Payton to be the coach of the Atlanta Falcons or something like that. That kind of a rivalry. The fan base, I think, for DC almost blew a rod, and you could see the engine blow and the transmission drop, and everybody was hot about that. So I think that DC is going to go the route of a top assistant coach, and it looks like Pineda, the number one for Seattle, might be the leader in the clubhouse. LA Galaxy makes the most sense for me because of Vanney's past at UCLA, because of his time with the Galaxy. And to me, that makes the most sense for a destination. Since we don't know about Seattle, this could be two tacks, or three, really. One, you re-sign Schmetzer to another deal, give him a raise in salary, and have him understand, it's like, we'd like to get you more, but under our current financial situation, we can only do X. Is that okay? Two, Seattle is okay with what has happened with Brian Schmetzer. We're cool. Thanks for your service. And you promote Pineda, your top assistant, who's been as a part of that Schmetzer tree, and he's been a part of that whole Schmetzer vibe the whole time. So the philosophy is there, and not a whole lot changes. Or Pineda ends up getting a job someplace else, then you end up with Schmetzer not getting a job. Pineda goes someplace else, and then Vanney becomes a part of the discussion in Seattle. So I think that that's kind of what you're looking at where Vanney is concerned. But right now, the only openings are Atlanta, LA, and DC, and I would discount DC as one of those destinations.
All right, as you could see, he misses you so much that he wants you.
We won't be talking tomorrow afternoon at 1.
All right, I know it's date night for John Freeman Nelson, but John, I brought in Carmen Asako.
First of all, on Twitter.
Yes, that's right. Okay, John, once again, your prediction for the MLS Cup on Saturday.
I got to go with the Velvet driving slipper lock of the week and go 2-1 Seattle, the Sounders, and get it done again.
I agree. All right, John, you'll be on with Giancarlo and Carmen tomorrow. Anything that you want to tell Carmen that he should prepare for tomorrow?
No, because that's what makes it fun. Giancarlo just asks us the questions, and we just go off and running. So it'll be fun to catch up with you, Coach. I know that you've got some really important topics, especially a loss to the sport to discuss here coming up. But good to see you. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon, guys. Be well, and I will see you guys later.
And John, tell everybody how to get a hold of you once again.
That might not be a bad idea. At OSG Nelson on the Twitters, Cute Sports Guy on Instagram, at Soccer Down Here on Twitter, soccerdownhere.net, theonlinesportsguys.com for all the news that's fit to read about, the OSG Sports app and the Soccer Down Here app available iOS and Android.
Thanks a lot. One of the best, John Freeman Nelson. I'll see him tomorrow, or Giancarlo, or Carmen.
All the above. Choice D. Bye.
Carmen Asako on here. Carmen Asako, I brought him on. We're going to talk about MLS and TFC, but, Carmen, we joked around every Friday, Nino D'Aversa and all that, but I was at Nino D'Aversa in 1982. You probably were there too. I know. Okay. No.
No, I was at St. Clair
Okay. Well, St. Clair, whatever.
the originals. Without that day, without those days in the World Cup, there would be no salsa on St. Clair. There would be no Italian festivals. There would be nothing, because that was the first party, the first street party ever that's kind of been the impetus.
They went down all the way to North York. You know what I'm talking about. 1982 went down and speak about what happened. Paulo Rossi. I'm not, I know you're Italian, but I know you're a little bit older than me, but anybody who loved the game of football, I'm not going to say soccer, football, and saw this guy in Spain, in Barcelona in 1982, what he did in that game, in that tournament, and everything like that, he should be, like we talked last couple weeks ago about Diego Maradona. I'm not saying he's on the level of Diego Maradona, but for one game, what can you say about, for those who don't know, Paulo Rossi? I'm talking about Italian superstar passing away this week, age 64. We haven't found out yet what he passed away from, right, Carmen?
Yeah, there's like rumors that he was ill, but yeah, they haven't really give us anything. But I mean, that's all irrelevant at this point. Right now, we've lost a great one. I mean, someone that shaped the Italian Canadian culture for sure.
All right, so I brought you on because obviously you're Italian, obviously you know soccer and everything like that. But when I say Paulo Rossi, what comes to mind? Doesn't it, in 1982?
Yeah, it was 1982 World Cup. Paulo Rossi was obviously the Ballon d'Or winner, and he was just the idol of every one of us. Of us, I was probably 11 years old at the time, and he was the idol of every one of us, and we all had our Paulo Rossi T-shirts. And that was the beginning of the mayhem, the beginning of the World Cup mania, because that was the first time we were allowed to watch games almost live. Other than, and I remember this, my mother used to own a store on St. Clair and Dufferin, and we'd sit outside, nothing else mattered. We'd put chairs and everything outside and just start the party. And it was not just an Italian festival. It was a festival of
Everybody.
people. It was a festival of people. There was, I don't remember situations and what happens today or what happens with even when the Blue Jays won, I was there. It was just such an incredibly happy atmosphere. And that was he embodied that happiness by obviously that whole team did, but he was obviously the centerpiece of that happiness, and kind of was just in the moment, incredible. Coming off of his own betting scandal as well. So many things against him, so many situations that he had to manage to be as great as he was for that month, for that month, and it was incredible in Mexico, Spain that month. The best player in the world.
Yeah, and and I'm gonna say this, I'm not Italian, but you're Italian. You're like the soccer god here, okay? And I'm gonna say that. So when you're watching, and you said 10, 11 years old, and watching, was he becoming an idol of yours? Because Italian heritage, you're Italian, winning the World Cup, being the star player there, was he like sort of, you want to grow up to be like him?
Well, we wanted to grow up to be like that whole team. Dino Zoff, Graziani, Antonioni. There were so many great, passionate players. They did something that they were never supposed to do. I mean, you remember the team that they beat in the semifinal. Brazil was, oh, you know, Zico, just incredible names and incredible players everywhere. And Rossi had the famous the hat trick against Brazil in that semifinal. To get to the semifinal in the quarterfinal. But it was against all odds. It was a story of passion, a story of sacrifice, and a story of just incredible joy for me as a little kid. I mean, I got on my bike from Scarborough, rode on the 401 until a cop stopped me, tried to get to St. Clair and Dufferin just to be part of that atmosphere, that way of life. And a lot of the kids, a lot of the people, like Giancarlo would equate that to 2006. But 82 was just a different world.
82 was, and like you just said, 82 is a different world because I'm going to equate it to now, 2020, with the pandemic and all that. Gone are the days of sitting back and watching football, watching sports, being around. I'm Spanish, you're Italian, with a Greek, with whatever. Those days you don't find anymore. You sit down with your own clique, Spanish with Spanish, Italian with Italian, and you were all friendly. You were never talking about, you were talking, oh yeah, my team's gonna beat your team and all that. I'll bet you a coffee or whatever. You know this, or the versa baguette or whatever, right? So it's like, but now it's like, oh yeah, I can't touch him. He's Greek. He's this. He's that. Don't come close to those were the days, and I'm lucky enough, and you're a couple years older, but I appreciate those days more now than ever, because there was between, okay, Italy, the games was in Spain, Brazil and all that, but if Italy beat Brazil, Brazilians were looking for Italy to win. They were with you. Now it's like hatred upon hatred. Why do you think that is? Where has, from 1982 to 2020, 21 almost, where did everything go? I know this is funny because we're talking about COVID time, but like even then, 1982, people were giving a hand to help out. If you're Italian, Spanish, whoever, you give. Now they look at you, that's like that. Where do you think the change in football and in life in general came from?
Well, I think this community, this city, everything was built by the immigrants, by the Spanish, by the Italian, by the Portuguese. They built this to have an identity, and they put their imprint on everything that happened in this community in Canada, and they suffered. They suffered. They worked incredibly hard to give their children the next level of things. And it's important to note that the culture of our Toronto community, our Southern Ontario community, Canada itself is built on the immigrants. It wasn't, regardless of Canadian, regardless of Italian, regardless of Portuguese, regardless of Spanish, whatever it was, regardless of even the Jamaican, whatever it was, we were building Canada, we were building Ontario, and we were proud of the work that we were doing together. We are proud of that identity that we held, and there was an incredible pride in this city that kind of shaped what this city was, and that just blew up, during the 1982 World Cup, and flags and people walking and parading up and down. Yes, it was for the World Cup, and yes, it was sport that brought every culture together. And but it was a bigger picture. It was a bigger celebration. It was a celebration of kind of life, and the Italians abroad, and the cultures abroad, and the immigrants who built Toronto. And it was a great expression of that. Somewhere all this pride in our city, regardless of what we are and what our backgrounds are, kind of got lost. And regardless, it kind of, passion kind of turned to anger, passions turned to entitlement, and it's been the way of the world. But it's not all doom and gloom. we have these, you know, memories that Paulo Rossi, Maradona gave us, and they were memories of good times. And we should be obviously sad for what we lost, but we should be happy for what we gained. And the message that everyone sent was Maradona sent and Paolo Rossi sent, and the Italian national 82 team. For me, those were the messages that were just out of this world. And there were the teachers that kind of guided me throughout my life, you know, and they were kind of the ethics that kind of guide me today, the passion, the sacrifice, and what I want to instill in my children. That you know, there was this celebration in 1982, initiated by an incredible group of athletes who were underdogs in every single way. Didn't win a game in their qualifying round, if you remember, and just, you know, fought through things and had this incredible passion and had this incredible sacrifice. And it shaped the Canadian immigrant who built Toronto. And those are the lessons that we should have taken from this, right? Similar to the you know, the U.S. hockey team. You know, there's another story.
Yep.
The Miracle on Ice. You know, these are stories that helped shape our lives for sure. You and I for sure. And these are the good things. And, you know, you lose people. If anyone out there, whether you're 12 or whether you're 50, 60, 70, you got to watch Gole. That video in the 1982 World Cup is filled with people that we lost.
That's actually my next question. Okay. So
Maradona, we lost this year. We lost James Bond, who did the narrating this year. What a great individual, great actor. And we lost, obviously, Paolo Rossi, who was the impetus for that.
And here's the honest truth. And I don't want to say this, but Pele is not doing well. Okay. That's another, you know, and you know where I'm going with this also, right? So that's why I wanted to bring you on, because 1982, you know, with the World Cup or whatever. But again, these are icons, legends, yes, icons. But look at the play, football, 1982, compare it to now. Some people will say, "Oh yeah, the guys are more fit, more faster." Okay, yeah, it's 30 years. You grow bigger, you know, you get bigger. You're in gym all the time or whatever. But for me, and I know you're 3 years older, I would take 1982 playing, and look at the smile on your face, over anything that is going on right now. And in that vein, don't forget, like we're talking about 1982, the last time Canada was in a World Cup was 4 years later. And talk about the pride in Canada in 1986, and when they had the World Cup in Argentina.
Yeah, and you'll look at a lot of the players on that team, of Bobby Leonarduzzi.
Yeah.
He'll equate that passion from 82 that motivated that 86 team, which had some incredible players, incredible competitors, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, without 1982, without that generation of players with Maradona and Paolo Rossi and Antonioni, and that passion, and let's not forget the incredible Germans as well. Just so many.
West Germany then.
Sorry, you're right. The West Germans, and the Polish with Boniek, if you remember correctly, were in semifinals. Like just incredible players that shaped what the player would turn out to be today. Without 82, there would be no evolution of the game. That's for sure. And
like you said,
yeah. And you know, and the evolution of systems of play came through 82, right? The evolutions of dealing with a Diego Maradona, you know, came zonal defending, not only man marking, because H.E.R. and of the like, you know, sat there and beat the crap out of Maradona. But there was a evolution, and that time for me was something pure for me personally. I mean, the first person I thought about when Paolo Rossi passed away was I wanted to pick up the phone and call my dad, but my dad's not there anymore, you know? So it's that purity of that time that I want to remember. You know, I don't want to be sad, because we have a lot of reasons to be sad, and we have a lot of reasons to try and feel sorry for what happened. But I'm so grateful for how someone like Paolo Rossi helped shape incredible memories for the whole world, and especially Italo-Canadians all over the world. And we're talking about millions and millions, not only the million plus that were on St. Clair and Dufferin, and that wasn't just Italo-Canadians, because I remember it vividly, vividly. Like I said, my mother had a store there. Not one thing was broken. Not one thing was, and we helped celebrate.
That's the difference. That's
Yeah.
the difference. Like, and I told you, and people watching this, by the way, you're watching Barnburner Live on Zingo TV channel 250 and the H.E.R Network channel 251 with Carmen Asako. When you watch, and this is why I'm saying people are going to think we're crazy, okay? When you watch soccer, football, then 1982, 86, that's what the sport is supposed to be. Not and I know you don't want to say this, but when I watch MLS or even EPL or La Liga or Serie A, and I see these guys, not even somebody touching, and they're going down to get a card. They're going down in the box. They're going. You just said it. They were killing Maradona, Paulo Rossi, and all these guys, killing them, and they wouldn't even go down. They wouldn't. But now you touch them, and they go. That's number one problem with football right now. That's number one problem. But looking back at 82 and 86, because I see the Canadian jacket on you, I got to throw in 86, okay? When I see 82, 86, for me, wouldn't you agree that's what football is all about?
Oh, it was a great era of football for sure. It was a great era of soccer and football, and it was the initiation of media and media coverage and great commentators as we started to see it in Canada. So that was the evolution for us too. It became a televised sport and a great entertainment value. I remember in '86 when who was it? Was it Sweeney who hit a free kick, or Paul James who hit a free kick, and we thought it went in. We went crazy cheering, and we realized it went outside the post after to make their own goal. Or just the greatness of watching Canada in the World Cup and losing 1-0 to France, and having that 18-year-old keeper, Paul Dolan, who's a friend of mine now, just making save after save against some not bad players. Some not bad players. So, and Platini will remember Paul Dolan's name. Imagine that. So yes, it was an incredible North America, especially Canada, and that was a collection of the same mentality, the immigrant mentality. I mean, that was the same mores, ethics that we were all grown on, that created that team, that Canada team that went to the World Cup. We had blue collar workers there who came from blue collar families who had to earn everything they got, right? And that was kind of the whole 1982 coming of age, coming of fruition for the reality of what it takes to have to be successful. And I think the likes of Paul James, the like of Paul Dolan, the likes of Bobby Lenarduzzi, Bob Yarushi before that, Carmen Marcantonio, were all, immigrant, had the immigrant values, and that's what we appreciated. And I think that was what we were celebrating in 1982 for sure. That led into Canada in 1986.
34 years. 34 years. If I told you 1986, Canada has not made a World Cup in 34 years, you're gonna say, well, they haven't made a World Cup because I'm not coaching it. All right. But can you believe it? Like, look at the momentum. We talk 82, 86, and now 34, and arguably we have one of the greatest players ever to dawn in Canada here, with Davies going and all that, and he was the Lou Marsh there. Tied for the Lou Marsh with the guy from Kansas City. So kudos to him. But 34 years, can you believe it? And we're still searching for a World Cup appearance.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like I with the national program a few times with the U20s, with the full national team, with the Pan Am team, you as
what is missing? You're there. What is missing when you look at 82, 80 or 86?
Right now, players are getting opportunities. And right now, the Canadian Soccer League back in the day, or the National Soccer League back in the day, were the best North American leagues, not Canadian, the best North American leagues. And it was an ability for these players to compete. Back in '92, when I was with the Olympic team, that whole team was based from the Canadian Soccer League. The likes of Paul Pescisolido, Carlo Corazine, uh, Mark Watson, who's now the technical director and did a great job with Minnesota. All these players, like I can go Carl Fletcher, Kevin Holness, all these players that had incredible illustrious careers developed in that Canadian league. So it was the infrastructure as well as the players' abilities and the work that gave them that success, right? That gave them the platform to be successful. But right now, we can look at what all the players don't have, but we need to look within our infrastructure and say, where are we missing it? Why in the CPL do we not have more of a Canadian mandate instead of mandating that four foreigners have to be involved or 7 foreigners have to be involved? So there's a lot of issues, but we have to look within the infrastructure and the structure of what's going on first, and then look to that, then look to the players and give them a proper platform to develop.
Yeah, well, what do you think is wrong with the infrastructure? You're the leader behind this. So like, what do we need? Like, I'm so sick and tired. Like, honestly, we see the.
Oh, we're going a different tangent right now. You're gonna start getting my spark plug.
You got 2 minutes to go on the tangent, but like honestly, I see basketball coming up, the Raptors, the Leafs, whatever. Who cares? But soccer, national sport. Let's and we talked about the passion. The Leafs steal their phrase, the Maple Leafs phrase, the passion that unites us all. That should be for football because football is still the world's game. Period. Yeah. End of story. Go ahead, Carden.
And I mean, like you look at all the Maple Leaf fans now, all the Spanish and the Italians from back in the day. They had a little bit at Old Stanley Park, and they had a little bit at Lamport Stadium, but they didn't have that platform to be passionate about. You come home from work after building the new apartment buildings wherever your father or worked. And then they wanted to kind of something. They were used to soccer back in their hometown. They were used to football to get that outlet of competition. They didn't have that. They had the Leafs. Well, that's how the Leafs, kind of got that historic, legendary status from, again, the immigrants who needed that outlet. So, I mean, in Canada, in Ontario especially, we need not to be afraid of the word competition, and we need not to be afraid of the word elite. In our administrative, those two words are kind of frowned upon. You're not allowed to compete. You're not allowed to be elite. You're not allowed to have that next tier because it has to be inclusive. No problem. I mean, we've done an amazing job in Ontario having that inclusivity, but have we done a good enough job to develop the national team player? Have we done a good enough job to make sure that TFC gets all the national team or the best players, or Vancouver or Montreal or however it is? Or do we have another level where the best player can play against the best player? So, I mean, we can't be afraid of these words. We can't be afraid of competing at an appropriate level, at an appropriate age. But these things are something that we can't shy away from, and our infrastructure needs to look at that 5%, 10% of players that belong in that level, because we want to make this sport bigger. We want, the millions and millions of kids playing to have that light at the end of the tunnel. So that's the bottom line. Yes, we're doing a great job with the biggest percentage to give them an outlet, whether it's amateur, adult, whether it's soccer for life. But we need to be better at giving that 10%, that 12%, 15% of elite athletes that pathway as well.
I couldn't say it better myself, because if you look at hockey, for example, all the elite players are Canadian, but specifically come from Ontario.
Yeah.
Come from Ontario. So if they do this for hockey, why can't they do this for football or soccer, if I'm going to put it that way?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, why can't they do, like, it's mind-boggling that here we are reminiscing of 38 years ago. 38 years ago. And 34 that Canada, it put it this way, I don't want to be Don Cherry, but if 38 years that we didn't win a Stanley Cup, okay? And yet, look, I brought in somebody here, Carmen, and you know, this is for the last 2 weeks, I've been asking you about futsal, okay? She's the queen of futsal. She's in Vancouver. That's why it's a little bit more light there and all that. But by the way, Andrea, this is Carmen Asako for Ontario. I hope you saw the last 2 minutes. He was fired up about why Canada does not have it in soccer or football.
Oh, I know the answer to that.
Okay, go ahead.
It's futsal, man. It's futsal. There's no futsal at the grassroots level. There's no futsal in schools. There's no futsal. If we did more futsal, we would be on the stage for sure.
Carmen?
I mean, there is a lot of futsal in our community. There is a lot of it, and the best and worst part about it, Andrea, it's that it's not organized as much as it should be. That's the best thing about it, because you know, the provincial bodies may make it their own thing, and kind of you know, the socioeconomic kids that are playing futsal are those kids that we need to, you know, get from underneath those boxes and playing in those little high schools to get into our leagues, to get them into playing with better players and the elite, because those are the kids that and so when futsal gets touched by, who knows, the governing body, who knows what's going to happen to the game. But right now, we'll call it a underground futsal that we have in gyms and cultural communities. That's fantastic. And, you know, I don't know if you know the main guy, and one of the main guys here in Ontario is Lorenzo Redwood, who's done an amazing job, you know, developing players, amazing job, not even on purpose, but expanding the game by just outreaching. And you know, I went to the Ontario Championships last year in futsal.
Oh, hey, we were there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
At Sportsplex.
Yeah, at for the futsal national championships, right?
I was at provincial. I didn't get to
Oh, okay. I went to Queens.
Yeah, Sportsplex, and it was just entertaining, passionate, great football, great technique, great technical ability, and I do think it's a springboard for the big game, for the 11-a-side game. But I also think it's a great game in itself, and I think that you know, people like Keith Tozer, who coached me in Milwaukee for the Milwaukee Wave for a few years. They understand the value, the entertainment value of the game. They understand the tactical value of the game, because I don't think a lot of people get to watch it. And you look at the Falcaos, the individual abilities, but you also look at the tactical nuances. It's like almost a basketball half court game with picks and movements and backdoors, and all those things are not easy to coach, not easy to have intuitively, but it's amazing to watch.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, just to add on that, I think the other thing that's kind of missing is there is no national player pathway, because as you say, it is so grassroots. And in the province of BC, they play it at the BCSPL level, but they don't really play it, I would say. They play more indoor soccer, and the rules are all over the place. And interesting that you mentioned Keith Tozer, because was it last week or the week before, we actually interviewed Ian Bennett. So we interviewed Ian Bennett. So he was super cool, and he just got moved to or he just signed with the Tropics. So I think he's going back to soccer.
Milwaukee. Wow.
Yeah, he was in Milwaukee, and then he's just
forever. I didn't know he left Milwaukee, because I mean, Jules Giuliano, the head coach there, he's Canadian as well.
Oh, okay, that I did not know.
Olivero, yeah, he was the futsal national team coach for a little bit. Him and Hector Marinero. But we've got a lot of arena soccer players, whether it's futsal or that. I mean, even with York 9, we had Absi.
Oh, really?
Brilliant. And the young player of the year in the CPL was Farsi.
Farsi played, right?
Right. There's
So
the
hold on,
value
Simon.
game.
Hold on. We're going to talk about futsal or whatever, but I got you here. You got 5 minutes left because I could see your wife already wanting to kill me here. So, like, look, I got to ask you, I got to ask you three questions. Three questions. All right. First of all, next head coach of Toronto FC, is it Carmen Asako? Yes or no?
No.
Who is it?
I think they're going to go to Europe. I think they're going to go to Europe, and there's heavy rumblings about the Portuguese gentleman. I don't want to say his name wrong, but
I don't want to say his name. Okay, Portuguese guy. All right. Secondly, okay, York 9. Are they changing their name, their logo, their jerseys or whatever? And are they going to hire some real coach? But you know who I'm talking about. So go ahead. Yes or no? Are they changing their name?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I would assume so. They're making this big hype about it. And Jimmy Brennan's a good coach, and he's the coach of the team.
Okay. So, okay, you don't want to answer. You don't answer that one. All right. Vancouver, because Andrea's in Vancouver. Stuff happened in Vancouver. First, before I get to Andrea, do you want to comment on that, Carmen?
About Vancouver, the Whitecaps?
Yeah.
No, they need to open up the wallet a little bit for Mark DeSantos. They have one of the best coaches, and one of the most motivated people. And maybe it was him, or maybe it wasn't him. But I think they need to open up the wallet a little bit if they want to be successful.
Okay, I'll get to Andrea in a second. But before you go, MLS Cup final Saturday. I know you're going to talk about it with John Nelson and John Carlo, and maybe some guy will come in the last 5 minutes to spice up, because I got to do some talking wrestling with you, or Nina Daversa or whatever. But who's your pick in the MLS Cup final?
I agree with John. I think my pick was Seattle from the beginning. I did say Seattle, New England, but I did underestimate Caleb Porter. He had them organized properly against New England, and they just did the little things right at the right times. But I still think it's going to be a closer game for sure. But I think Seattle learned their lesson against Minnesota, and I think that they'll win the game. Let's say 2-0.
Well, 2-0, by the way. That's what I try.
My bad.
Okay. and we said 2-1 here. But I got one text right now from a guy named Dave Rumack. He said, "What's up with Carmen, who doesn't say Happy Hanukkah to me?"
I said happy. my friend Shane Spring, who runs the Maccabi game team soccer. Yeah. So I'm happy Hanukkah, Mr. Rumack family, the Rumack family, and every other Israeli out there who's enjoying today and celebrating today.
And he wants his gelt. So that gelt is like a Hanukkah present, Christmas present. Come on, Carmen. You could take him to Nino Daversa also. Come on.
There you go. As soon as it opens, me and you, Joe, will take him out.
All right. And to be fair, Andrea, do you want to have any question or any final questions to Carmen Asako? He's the king of soccer here in Ontario. I don't care what he says. Listen to me. I'm the only guy that matters in this conversation. He's the king of soccer in Ontario. Okay? Go ahead, Andrea.
What was my question? I have no questions.
You have no question.
I have no question.
Hey, look. Okay, futsal question. Come on, a futsal question.
Futsal question.
Yeah.
Well, the big question is, when are we going to, so the big question would be, when are we going to get back? Because it's tough, right? With COVID, but I think who knows, right? Hopefully maybe there'll be something in the spring, with the vaccine. So I think that would be the big question, is when are we going to get back on the court?
Yeah. I mean, let's hope, but futsal should be like they're talking about, 10 on the court, 10 social distanced. I mean, if we go to Orange, I think futsal leagues are going to be good.
Yeah.
If we stay in the red zone, I think we're going to still be, it's problematic. But let's keep doing a great job promoting, because it's a beautiful game. It's it's a great game. It's a very technical game. And, in the big picture of things, as far as football or soccer is concerned, it's a great developer. But in the game itself, regardless of the 11v11 game, it's entertainment, and it's got a lot of value to it. And hopefully Mark Cuban puts his money to his money and gets that league going.
Yeah, I know. Like, when's that going to happen? Because that's been 5 years in the running or something, right? So, yeah.
And Carmen, before you go, last question, since Andrea's here, and I know you had some big time signings for York ladies, because we're also been seeing on
I need more BC girls. I need more BC.
Oh,
Oh, listen, I can put you in touch with someone who is very well connected. She is rocking she's producing high quality women. So yeah.
I get interest here and there. I'm actually talking to a keeper from the BC area, from another player from Metro Coquitlam. But I gotta do a better job out west.
Oh, okay. So, but seriously, I totally know the woman you need to talk to if you want
Perfect.
talent. I know someone. Yeah.
all right, Carmen,
Perfect. Joe will pick us up.
I'll pass it along.
Cool.
I'll get, but Carmen, slip me something under the table.
Mars bars. We'll bring the
Mars
Mars.
bars. Oh my god. Nice. Nice.
All right, that's
All right.
Carmen.
Have a good evening, guys. And you know
Thanks.
what, Joe, thanks for this. It was kind of a cathartic feeling for me to go back to 1982. Thank you. And you know, it brought a smile to my face. Just the memories that Paolo Rossi and that whole '82 experience kind of created. And you know, you hear what Zico and the players that should hate him the most are saying about that team and that win meant to them retrospectively. So, you know, God bless everything that he's done, and let's make sure that you know, thank him for all the nostalgic feelings that we're all getting, and let's remember the goodness of all that and try to translate it to today's world.
And Carmen, that was, me and you grew up the same. I know you're a couple of years older, but we grew up the same. And soccer or football, I'm not going to say soccer, football has never been the same since 82, 86 and everything like that. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to say this as a Spaniard guy, and you're Italian, we have Portuguese, we have everybody. It didn't matter where you're from. Now it matters. Oh, he can't be here. Why is he there? What? And there's the nicknames and bad names they call Spanish, Italians, and all that. What's this world coming to? Soccer, football is a game played by everybody. It's the world's greatest game. And now we talked about 1986, the last time Canada made the World Cup. You know, things have to change with this COVID. Maybe people can realize, okay, he's my friend. He's not out to hurt me. He's not out to chop my legs or whatever. Like you talked about, Maradona was being killed on the field, and Paulo Rossi, and I don't have to tell you, and back even in older than 1982, Garrincha, in Brazil, and Vava and all that. And I know you can't believe that I'm mentioning all these names. I'm surprising you. I don't only talk about Hogan and John Cena, okay, and Maple Leafs and everything like that. Come on, all right. But those were the days. And Carmen, I wanted you on first of all to reflect on Paulo Rossi, and you did an amazing job of reflecting at Diego Maradona a couple weeks ago. But let's hope, knock on wood, that we talked about Pelé is not the next one to go and all that. But as you get older, and people should realize this, I know it's the holiday season, I know it's COVID and all that, and we talked about Rumac, it's Hanukkah, it's Christmas time and all that. Be with the ones that your father, your mother, and all that. Appreciate what you have now, because in 2 seconds it's taken away. And Carmen, first of all, thank you for your thoughts on Paulo Rossi, and thank you. I know for Andrea is going to thank you for your thoughts on futsal and all that. And who would think you would win, Andrea or you, if you played a game of futsal?
My God, it's not me, man. Come on. There's no way.
Am I allowed to use my hand? I was a goalkeeper.
Oh my God.
If you listen, when I played for a team called the Toronto Shooting Stars, all right, back in the day in the old NPSL, National Professional Soccer, indoor, okay, Maple Leaf Gardens, and I was the best player on the field to chip a ball out of bounds. Not a good thing.
So that isn't a good thing.
I gotta ask you this. We talked this. They're closing off on this. You mentioned playing for that team in Maple Leaf Gardens, okay, and you're an indoor soccer player walking into Maple Leaf Gardens, and that probably 80, 82, 86, and 90 something, walking into Maple. You know what I'm trying to give you a compliment, all right? Come on. So like, look, okay, walking into Maple Leaf Gardens, do you feel the aura? Like even when I went to Maple Leaf Gardens and you hear the smell of peanuts and hot dogs and all that, and then walking into Maple Leaf Gardens, it's still, when you go into Management Center, the first thing I look is the roof, because that roof was like, how tall was that? But when you're a player in Maple Leaf Gardens, how does that feel?
It was amazing. We used to get, our locker room was the away team's locker room. So you'd go in there and see the lines, Gretzky, Messier, and you'd be like, whoa. They'd leave all the lines on the chalkboard, right? So it was some amazing lines and some amazing players. And like I said, the Leafs used to come out after practice and the field would be changed to the turf. And they would be Felix Potvin, Matt Sundin, Ty Domi, all those guys out there playing, and you know what? They weren't bad at all. They weren't bad at all.
Who was the best soccer player there?
You know what? I played for the Edmonton Drillers back in the day. And there's a gentleman called George Larocque who could
the goalie.
Oh, Larocque, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He wasn't the goalie.
I know George Larocque, the fighter. But
yeah.
there was also George Larocque, a goalie.
But Sundin probably still had the technical ability more than anyone else. But they were great guys, and they just stuck around, watched the games. It was again, it was just a good camaraderie, and like even in Edmonton and all the other places, it was just camaraderie, good city camaraderie, and Sundin and those guys were fantastic. So that was kind of the whole Toronto sports scene back then.
Yeah, well, forget about Toronto. Canada should appreciate what we have. And first of all, people should appreciate this guy. Every time I call him, no matter what, he told me not even, see, here's a secret. Don't even say thank you. He's telling me not even to say thank you. All right. So Carmen, I'm not going to say thank you. I see the light there. Your wife's waiting for you. You're getting me in trouble. So we'll see you on Friday tomorrow.
Okay. We'll see you tomorrow, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. All the best.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Once again, that's one of the best, Carmen Asako there. Great coach. Now we're bringing on Andrea here. First of all, the queen, for he's the king, you're the queen of futsal. I'm gonna say that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Don't forget, I gotta mention your partner, okay? So
yeah, of course you have to mention Alvaro de Almeida. Come on now.
Yeah, Alvaro. Okay, so where's Alvaro? Come on.
Alvaro right now is actually on a soccer field. He is coaching a bunch of North Vancouver FC community soccer players, U11. I think
want to talk
U11.
about Brazilian soccer with him. Come on.
Yes, you have to talk about Brazilian soccer with him. He's up on it. He'll totally be game
next week when we bring him for the All-Star celebration here or year-end celebration. But Andrea, let's continue on with futsal here.
Yeah.
I want people who are watching on the Barn Burner TV network, ZINGOTV channel 250, her network ZINGOTV channel 251, explain to them, because you never know, you could get new viewers every time, what futsal is.
Right. So the way I describe futsal is it's a faster, better, more technical version of indoor soccer. We play 5v5, including a goalie. There's different rules, which I'm not going to go into. But basically, it's just a faster game of indoor soccer. And if you look at if you look at a good chunk of the professional players, from like Ronaldo to Messi to Marcelo, to so many good players, they all played futsal, some version of futsal, and sometimes futsal can be called street soccer, but they all played a version of futsal. And it just makes you technically more sound because you get more ball touches. They've actually done studies that say, and I think this is right, it's something like you touch a ball of futsal like 20 times or 6 times a minute versus a regular soccer game. So if you imagine, if you're touching that ball all the time, you're just going to be so much more technically sound. And you can see behind me, there's futsal balls are actually smaller than soccer balls. So because it's a smaller soccer ball when it's played correctly, again, you're just getting so much more technical touches on the ball and you just become a better player overall. But That said, futsal is a sport. It's definitely a sport in its own right. There are professional leagues. We don't see them many. Carmine mentioned Mark Cuban, and they're trying to get a professional futsal league in the United States. We don't have the same type of, I would say, well, it's not developed like it is in Europe or it is in South America. So we're behind in that sense. But again, it's an amazing sport.
If you and I called you the queen of futsal. So if you had, I don't know if what you want to say, the book or whatever,
Yeah.
what would you do to make futsal as the sixth, let's say, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, North America, top four, as the fifth or sixth sport in North America? What would you do to propel it so people could watch it? Because like Carmen says, if you watch it, you're hooked.
100%.
It's like in Canada, okay, not many people, like, I know, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring this up, Vancouver Grizzlies, okay? Not many people, when you watch 20, 25 years ago basketball, were they really hooked on it. Now, basketball has become number 2 in Canada. Hockey's always going to be number 1, but basketball's number 2. So what would you say futsal can do, or what can they do to propel it to be a big time sport in North America?
Yeah, well, I think, the Americans are trying to do it right. If you have a professional league that, because it's all on TV viewership and sponsorship, but I also think at this point, you also need a women's league, start 2 leagues and I mentioned it with Carmine a little too, have a player pathway. That's the thing about when you look at soccer, when you look at basketball, when you look at hockey, there's a player pathway for kids to progress to that pro level. There isn't in futsal. It's very up and down. It's all over the place. Some provinces in Canada, anyways, some provinces, you can do certain things in Quebec and Ontario, but you can't do those same things in British Columbia, where I am. So I think it's definitely 2 leagues, 2 professional leagues, men and women's, start it. And then really it's just why it's so successful in Quebec actually is because and actually we learned this recently, it's also really successful in Spain, is because it's in schools, play it in schools. So develop it within the grassroots, and that will help build up the game, and so people know it. And then there's other things too, like on a more picky level, know the rules of futsal. There's a lot of variants of it, but at the end of the day, for us, because we're part of CSA, we follow FIFA's rules of futsal. So keep the rules consistent. Again, different provinces, different rules. So there's like when you play hockey, you're playing the NHL rules, right? It's the same when you're playing basketball, you're playing the NBA rules, and there's different rules. So there's got to be one message kind of across the board. And then, again, you get a professional league, men's and women's, then it becomes a sport. Oftentimes in Canada, and this is the same, you see this in the United States, it's a tool for football development. Really, it needs to stand alone on itself because it is a sport all unto itself. There's leagues, as I said, there's leagues in Portugal, there's leagues in Spain, there's leagues in, Brazil. It can stand alone on its own.
Yeah. And it's a great thing that you mentioned ladies, okay? So because not only are we on the H.E.R network, ZINGOTV channel 251, but the biggest news and I'm going to let you the news. No, because you're a lady, okay? Biggest news, people got to listen to this, okay? Biggest interactions, go ahead. I won't say.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. So it just recently came out that the biggest interactions for social engagement on Twitter and Instagram are for the NWSL. So the women's, what is it? National Women's Soccer League, right? So yeah. And then followed by for Twitter, it went the women's NBA, MLB, NHL, NFL. And then for Instagram.
Don't care about those.
Yeah.
The first 2, NWSL and the WNBA. That's the National Women's Soccer League.
Yes.
The Women's National Basketball Association. Those are the 2 sports. Now, wait a minute. I'm hot here, and I'm going to cover all the bases here or whatever. Okay. The CWHL, that's the Canadian Women Hockey League, had a league, the most successful last year. What happened?
Yes.
They
shut
pulled
down.
the rug under that. Now Toronto's got a Toronto 6 team in the NWHL. Okay, great, amazing. We can't even see it because of COVID now. There's no, we can't even watch it or whatever. When are people going to stand up? Sponsors, Tim Hortons, Midas, Molson, Budweiser's, whatever. Also, and we talked about futsal, when are they standing up for that? Futsal is probably, if you see it, you're hooked. Go and sponsor futsal. Go and sponsor ladies sports. Go and and it's not only the women's soccer league or the WNBA it's a crying shame that we don't have hockey in Canada played by the woman for the woman. This is why we did the H.E.R network. What about baseball? There's a million baseball players, softball players. And what about having a women baseball league? And for that matter, I threw this out months ago. We're going to have Justin Levine on about hockey. And this is the idea I had. And I know I'm going around circle here, but if you're going to have an all-star game where it's already in hockey, there's no checking in all-star game.
Yeah,
why not have Sidney Crosby playing with the top females on a line? Like, oh my gosh, this is so creative. I never thought of that or whatever. Tim Hortons comes out with a doll. Like, are they dolls or are they hockey players? Hockey, what do you know? You give it your all. You can't even see their hair. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is this. Again, read that. NWSL and the WNBA are the highest engagement. They beat hockey, NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, probably UFC, WWE, or whatever. Why aren't people looking at the ladies and lady sports more serious? Go ahead.
So I think so. It's interesting. I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think it's because the women's sport is supposed to be held to the standards of the men, but that's not how you need to look at it. From my perspective, we play games differently. We're marketed differently. So why do we have to conform to the men's way of looking at leagues? So I think you have to have, and I know this is probably a 2020 thing, but I think you have to have a mind shift. Like, shift your mind to how the women's games are played. There's a reason that the NWSL is on number one in Twitter and Instagram. They're clearly doing some things that people like. So why can't we shift that to other women's sports? And I totally agree with you. There should be a lot more sports. At the end of the day, we're 50% of the population. I've been watching the Vancouver Canucks since like 1985. I'm like a lifelong fan. Like, there's lots and lots and lots of women who want to go to sporting events. If I could have this summer, I would have gone to a Canadiens game like 3 or 4 times. Like, we have money, we have the income, we have the interest, but for whatever reason, the sole focus has been on men. So I think you have to look at it differently. And I talked about this too with someone else. You have to look at the ROI differently. I think from a business perspective, you have to shift it. It can't be all about dollars and cents. Yes, you want a good ROI, return on investment, but you also have to look at the social impact. And that's kind of, I think, what women do. We are the mothers of the family. We are the caregivers. So shift your thinking a little bit.
Yeah, you're the mothers of the family and the caregivers or whatever, but what does H.E.R stand for? Hardworking. Are you that? Are you not that?
100%.
Empowering? Are you not? Are you not resilient?
Yeah, 100%.
So, and if you look at take hockey for example, what's the stereotype? Whoa, they play. Don, I'm gonna sound like Don. He plays with a teeth down and he's a visor and all that. What's the difference? You're hardworking. You're giving birth. You're there with your daughter, with your son. You're there while the player goes away on trips for 2 weeks and all that. But who's home cooking the sandwiches? Who's home? And you still forget about doing the household stuff. You're still playing futsal. You're still in the league. You're still doing your best. When are people going to realize, like, look, okay, I hate to bring hockey into this, but let's take hockey.
Yeah, of course.
Team Canada, America, great hockey games, Olympics or whatever. But when you watch the Olympics, at least for me, I watch the ladies more than the men because it's more competitive and they care more. They block shots. They care more. Period.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that. I actually just watched a goal scored by the U17 Paulista game in Brazil, and the women were killing it. Yeah, we play harder. We play, and the game is different, and it's not. And for soccer, it's not the same.
So what if it's different? Like you said, there's a mentality. What in again hockey, in futsal, and anything. should be, oh, well, we're not going to waste money because this game is this game. Why? It's the
Why?
game. Do you not play the same game? Okay, there's no fighting. At least I don't see ladies fighting, okay, in hockey, okay? There's no fighting, but there is checking.
Yes, of course.
There's blocking shots. There's high sticking. There's cross checking. There's more cross checking probably in ladies than there is in men. All right, more dripping and all. So again, it just like I can't believe it that people don't see and people talk about equality and the justice and ladies should be heard and everything like that. Well, why aren't you being heard? Why aren't you being heard? But not by me, by the people who have a little bit of the money, who the sponsors, like Tim Hortons, like PWHPA, they just signed Scotiabank. Okay, that is great. But why did it take 3 years to sign Scotiabank when there's not a league here in Canada? Anybody asked that? Nobody asked that. Why does somebody not ask those questions? Well, we think it's the right time. What's the right time? When there's no league? Oh, yeah, well, there's no league, so now we could get it cheaper. That's what they're thinking. Period.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't disagree with you. And I think I'm hoping that, again, as is what I said, like the women are compared to the same standards of men. And I don't think that's how it should be. And I think in the corporate boardrooms, we don't know how tough women, how the women's sport is being progressed or how it's being sold. But I do think that, kind of the onus is on us as women too, to step up and say, okay, I'm going to start my own stuff. When we had Carmelina Mosada, what's her name? Thank you. Yes, when we had her on, right? She was, she's the commissioner of League One, right, in Ontario. We talked about this as well. There has to be, women just, we have to push our own agenda. We can't wait.
I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. It just came to mind here because I speak to the other lady hockey players and all that. Okay, and I'm going to say this. I know I'm going to get in heat or whatever, but okay. So Sidney Crosby, how much does he make?
Oh, I don't even want to guess. A lot.
$12 million.
Yeah, exactly.
10, 12. It's Connor McDavid, 10. Austin Matthews. You go on and on and on and on and on. Lindsay, our team, Lindsay Eastwood, maybe $1,000, maybe $5,000-$10,000. I don't know. I don't ask her. But you talk about it's not the same game. Well, it's definitely almost the same game. So if it's not, if one guy's making $10 million, fine, it's almost the same. Let them make $1 million. They would go crazy if they made $1 million a year. They're making probably at most 10,000. Yeah. Now 10,000 a shift goes to Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews. A shift. Enough said. Until we change the mentality of that, nothing's going to change. I don't care if you put ladies in power or whatever. Somebody who has money is willing to open up the wallet. Tim Hortons or whoever is a Starbucks. Starbucks, actually, the coffee is charged more. Okay, I don't have to tell you. Probably in Vancouver, it's probably triple. But anyway,
it is.
Anyways, until somebody changes the attitude, forget about different game or whatever, different attitude. Sidney Crosby makes $10 million a year. Same player, same position, same everything. Ladies, it's the same game. I don't care what you say. It is the same game. $10,000. That's 2, 3, 6 more zeros. Oh, that's it. It's only 6 zeros or what? Come on. If it's the same game, people pay. Doesn't matter if you're man and lady, you should pay the same. I know you don't have the same TV deal, but why?
Yeah, and that's interesting. So that's interesting because I was going to bring that up too. Part of it, a lot of it is the streaming and the TV deals, right? Like, why don't you put the women on? Like, I don't want to watch darts 24/7. Like,
you're stealing my line now. Okay, so like, look,
I know.
but the whole thing is, what's the wrong? How much does darts get them like a rating? How many people actually stay there and are glued to darts for 3-4 hours a day? Instead of, and it doesn't have to be hockey, futsal, could be gymnastics, could be ladies volleyball, could just focus on something every day. There's so much now. We're at home. There's people want content. We're delivering it. Okay, 362 games. They shows in November. We're delivering over 110 days. So we're delivering it. But look, the whole thing is people are starving for content. Give something that is not, you don't see. You don't see futsal. And I'm telling you, just do it a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
And they'll be hooked on futsal. Wow, what's this? Beach volleyball. I don't have to tell. Like, how come? I don't know this. Every 4 years, we're watching beach volleyball. What happens? They only play it once in every 4 years? Like,
Yep.
come on. You know, like,
yeah. I would agree. And I think that the thing is that you can't make the argument that, oh, the technology is too expensive. The tech is not expensive. You can put it in, you can set it up. You know, COVID has made us adapt to technology. So you could easily stream it. You could easily put a camera in. It's not the technology. I think it's the willingness to do it, because they do have the ability to do it. It's just for whatever reason they don't want to, which is a shame because, you know, TV isn't also just competing with TV anymore. TV is competing with YouTube and Instagram and IGTV. It's a fragmented market. Media is more fragmented than ever. So why wouldn't you want to put more revenue streams and potential revenue streams in and create different content for different audiences? Because we're all consuming different media these days. We're not just watching TV.
TV and sports in general is like a buffet.
Yes.
Okay? You need. Some people like hamburgers. Well, I don't see a hamburger in a buffet, but anyways, some people like hamburgers, hot dogs, steak, Chinese food or whatever. They want to have everything all at once. And if you nibble at whatever they give, they're going to come back to futsal, to volleyball, to give something that is not seen or heard anywhere. And that's what we take pride in here at the Barn Burner Network and the H.E.R Network, because, like, look, and I'm going to be honest with you here. Tell everybody what was the first things, and I'm going to put you on the spot. What was the first thing you told me when you first contacted me?
Oh, the first thing I thought you were going to reject me, actually. Wasn't that it? I thought because
your first email was, you got 12 soccer shows.
Oh yeah, you guys 12 soccer. Yeah, so but the first email was, so the reason I got on Barn Burner was, Alvaro and I got on Barn Burner was because I said, okay, you've got 11 soccer shows. Would you like a 12th show? And that 12th show would be futsal. Like, seriously, why is that? Futsal is played by millions of people around the world. And, you know, I've been rejected by a lot of people before. What?
And what did I say?
Yeah, you said yes. I don't know.
But the whole thing is, I'm trying, and I tell this to everybody, we're trying to push it between Barn Burner and H.E.R Network. We're trying to push the envelope to give people that not seen or heard. It doesn't matter. You could be heard by millions of people, or you could be heard by one person. If that one person hears it and likes and sees the futsal, he tells another person, who tells another person, who tells another. That's how does hockey start? How does soccer start? How does everything start? The people like the sport. Like you said, I mentioned Carmen Asako, amazing coach here in Ontario. He knows all the guys in futsal or whatever. You see his face? Did you see his face when we talked about futsal?
Yeah.
Okay? Like, look, that's something. And like, I know Carmen long time. You could see that already. But when you put something to say futsal and his face lights up, why? Because nobody ever talks about, what is TFC going to do? What are you going to do? But hey, for futsal, it's great a sport. People should be doing this. He knows it. He knows everything. He knows all this. I urge people to check out, first of all, Born to Play Futsal, Sundays at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific.
Yep.
Notice I sound like Brian Williams, like 11:30.
You do, actually.
Like whatever, but there you go. I urge, because you got to get out there and see futsal and hear it. And we got the only show, probably in North America, maybe around the world, to carry futsal is here on the Barn Burner TV network, the H.E.R network. And like, honestly, Andrea and Alvaro do an amazing job at covering futsal. And they not only talk about futsal, honestly, you talk about soccer or football, okay?
Well, yeah, we're just going to talk a little bit about soccer because soccer and futsal are
You got a Brazilian as your co-host. Come on.
I know, but we want to talk about. But to that point, though, that's part of the problem with futsal is that it's too close to soccer. It needs to stand alone, and it's all its own sport, right? So we will talk about soccer, obviously, but primarily we're gonna have more talk about futsal because we love it, and there's so much strategy and tactics to it, and the people that we've got lined up are genuine futsal players, and futsal peeps.
So with futsal, right? And you said it should stand on its own.
Yeah.
In Vancouver, is it standing on its own?
No, but it's not, and so and that's the challenge with futsal, right? Is because
it's standing more in Vancouver than Ontario, correct?
No, Ontario and Quebec rock. They are the majority of the futsal players that you see. They're all from Ontario and Quebec. And
have you taken a look at why it's happening in Ontario and Quebec and not happening in Vancouver?
So I think it's a bunch of things. Part of it is the weather, right? We have the ability to play soccer outside 24/7, like 12 months of the year, right? Where in Ontario and Quebec, it's freezing cold. People go inside. So there's that. It's also the provincial association. Every provincial association has their own feelings about futsal and where it fits in. Then, there's also, I would say, then some of it comes down from our national association. They support it on certain levels, but in my opinion, and I'm watching my words on purpose, should they be doing more? In my opinion, they should. And so the part of it is with soccer, there's a clear, as I said, there's a clear player pathway. You have to do certain things at the grassroots level. That doesn't happen with futsal. It's kind of here or there, or you get it at the higher levels, but you don't really get it fundamentally at the bottom. Some other things are changing, and some things within futsal are changing, but it's not there. The strategy across the country for futsal is fragmented, so it's tough.
So as you could see, we're joined by Justin Levine. He'll be on here to talk World Juniors and hockey. But Andrea, tell everybody, final thought, why people should check out futsal, why people should check out your show.
Okay, so I would say check out futsal just because it's such an amazing sport. It's, as I said, it's fast, it's more technical than soccer. It's just a super exciting game, and it's so international, from Brazilians to people from Spain, from the Spanish players, the English players. It's just got such an amazing international flavor. And I've seen futsal played the right way. Oh my God, it's so amazingly fast, and the goals and just the technique. Like, soccer players actually complain when they watch futsal players play because the physicalness is actually more intense than soccer. So it's such an amazing sport. And the people that we have lined up are international in flavor. We've got he's from Spain, but he's in America. He plays. He's part of the Bay Area Futsal Club. He's on Sunday. Then we're gonna have someone from Spain the following week, and then for our Christmas special, there's a gentleman named Steven. I'm gonna mess his name up. McGettigan. He actually is from Futsal Focus, and so we're gonna do a whole around the world of what happened in futsal in 2020. So we've got lots of good content coming up.
Okay, and tell everybody, when's the show?
The show is at 10:30 a.m. PST or 1:30 EST. I'm not. Yes. Is that right? I did my math right. The 3 hours there. Yeah.
So yeah, Born to Play Futsal. And by the way, do you have any? Just for Justin to hear this, because Justin, if Carmen's the king of soccer, Justin's the king of ladies hockey. Tell Justin right now. See, he agrees. Where's your crown, Justin? At least wear a kippah. It's Hanukkah. All right. So look.
Oh my God.
Tell Justin, what are the two most engaging sports that beat out NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, UFC.
Oh, so Joe's referring to the big news that came out. So when it comes to Twitter, so this is actually specifically just for Twitter. So for Twitter, the top sports that got engagement were the National Women's Soccer League and then the NWA. And for Instagram, it was actually the National Women's Soccer League. They were number one for engagement. So
that's pretty cool. And I'm not really surprised. Over the summer, they were trending a lot for the way they did their bubble. They got a lot of praise for that.
Yeah, for sure. But the NHL was kind of at the bottom of the barrel. Won't lie.
Okay, well that's always never mind. Nobody cares in America. They don't care about real sport like futsal and hockey, right? So that's it. So, all right, Andrea. So check her show on with Alvaro on Sunday.
So wait, I get to ask a hockey question. Come on now, I'm Vancouver Canucks.
Go.
Listen, I went to the 1993 Game 6 of the Vancouver Canucks game, playoff game. I'm like a long-time hockey fan. Okay, so what do you think's gonna happen? How do you think the Canucks are gonna do this year?
That's a great question. They're in a again. There's
okay. I'll answer. You want me to answer?
No.
You want me to answer? You're looking. Me and Justin. I know he likes the Montreal Canadiens. I gotta fix his hair. Gotta fix his hair. Gotta fix his team. Don't worry. Okay. First of all, we're talking about an all-Canadian division this year in the National Hockey League. 56 games that begins January 13th. God's team, Canadians team. God's team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, are going to win that Canadian division and be in the Stanley Cup this year.
What, the choke? The Maple Leafs choke. Come on.
God's team. Have you seen the Bell Center? It's called the Cathedral. So I think that
Hold
I think Montreal's the God's team.
According to a guy Andrea knows well, Alvaro, he says to me that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to capture the Stanley Cup in 2000. He did not mention the year. So it could be, we got 60, 80 more years for them to capture the Stanley Cup, all right? But honestly, Justin, you want to answer that? Go ahead.
I think that they're going to do okay. I think we're going to see Calgary and Vancouver somewhere near the top of the standings. I think the Canucks are going to be higher up. Toronto has been projected to be lower down, which I agree with. And, as my Montreal bias would suggest, I'm okay with. And Montreal is going to be second, third place. So then I'd put Vancouver, I want to say fifth place with Edmonton right over them and Calgary right under them.
Oh, interesting.
All right. Any more mind-boggling questions? I don't know who's over, who's under, who's this, who's that, in, up, down, whatever. Andrea, any more hockey?
Well, what do they call it? The Jets? Where are the Jets now? Winnipeg. Where's Winnipeg?
Yes.
Yeah, Jets are a funny story because if Patrick Laine goes, which he might not, but he might, then that kind of loses, all category for them. So they'll be at the bottom of this Canadian division standing. So
in this segment right now that you heard that teams are up, down, over, on top of, and Patrick Laine may not go, may not go. Like, just to be confirmed, that's what Justin has said: up, down, and may not go. It sounds like futsal, doesn't it?
It is a little bit like futsal, but then do we like the Canadian All League? I'm not sure I'm digging the Canadian League.
I don't, and there's a lot of people yesterday, including fan 590 H.E.R, who said, I love this, keep it permanent. And a couple buddies of mine said, worst take of 2020, and I back that because I just, why would you do that any other year but this year? Why is that a good move? 7 teams when there's 32 soon to be? So I don't know.
Yeah, and I kind of want to play some Americans. Like, I want all Canadian hockey.
I'm going to get bored watching this to the point where I'm not going to want to watch it towards the end of the 56 games or whatever it is. So
yeah, I completely agree. Like, I want to watch Pittsburgh. I want to watch the Kraken. Like, I'm not going to be able to do that now.
Kraken. I'm waiting for that.
Like, so what's the deal? I don't get it. Yeah,
Seattle going to have a good feud there, eh?
Yeah, I read something earlier saying that they're a little bit on the aggravated side that just given the virus, that's pushed back their plans to be instated sooner rather than later. But at the same time, they cited hope as something to push forward until then. So, I was just on SeattleTimes.com earlier today reading their Kraken content, so I'm excited. So
that's cool. Okay, so then my last question is Las Vegas or the Kraken? Who's going to win?
Well, the Kraken start next.
The Kraken do this properly.
The Kraken start. I know what.
The Kraken will definitely, I think, and I can't present any bias here, but there's something about inaugural teams doing really well in the NHL at the very least. So I want to say the Kraken, and if they do this right, which they have the staff to do that, then the Kraken.
Yep. Okay, well, and on that note, I do know an NHL scout for the Kraken, so she's Cami Ferrero. So hopefully she'll do some good scouting for us for
All right,
them.
hold on. The Kraken, you guys like their logo? Justin.
So I like the logo, but I don't like the colors actually.
What colors would you put?
I don't know. It's like this weird blue. It's like a robin. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. It's like the Puget. Apparently, it's like the Puget Sound blue. I don't know.
I don't like the teal color.
Yes.
I'm just not a because it's kind of like a green, and I've never been a green person, so just no.
Yeah.
You don't like green?
Not the biggest green person, so that just wasn't kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But the blue is okay.
Oh yeah, and it looks good on a baseball hat. Like I like the hats. Like the logo's it's a nice logo.
You don't like green? You can't tell ladies you don't like money. Come on, man. Come on.
Hey, I'm not making that connection. I'm looking from a branding perspective.
I'm looking at the branding, not the money. I'll take the money.
Not the money, man. The money's gonna be guaranteed.
Justin, do you have any questions about futsal?
Never really heard of futsal, so I'm all good.
Okay, let's see. Fair enough.
Justin, you got to watch the show Sundays at 1:30, okay? To convince that it's a new sport you got to watch, okay? So that's it.
Now I need to pay attention to
weird sports and new sports. I mean, I was just learning about some weird sports earlier this week, so I'm always down for something new.
Okay, nice. And now I'll pay attention to the Canadian Hockey League because that's pretty much what we're going to be called.
Okay, Andrea, first of all, you don't play FIFA? Come on. FIFA...
FIFA, what? Have you seen? Are we talking gaming?
Yes.
No, I suck. Oh my God. No. Ask my kids about the one time I played Fortnite. That was a disaster. Yeah, no.
All right. So that's Andrea Betton. Check her out Sundays 1:30 with her partner Alvaro. And I urge you to check out Born to Play Futsal. Andrea, thanks for your time.
No sweat. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome back here next week for the year-end celebration. All right.
Okay, cool.
All right. See you.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
No problem. So back here with Justin Levine. Of course, he hosts so many shows here on the Barn Burner TV network. The OHL Experience, PWHPA, Over the Glass, NWHL Cool Down. Am I missing any show?
Six and Sticks. Otherwise, nailed it.
Yeah, six. I did it for you, 6 and Sticks, because I know our friend Digit Murphy's watching. Lindsay Eastwood is watching. Okay. But we'll talk about ladies hockey in just a few minutes. But in 2 weeks, the annual tradition happens. The World Juniors, see the picture in the background of the World Juniors winning the gold medal. Now, let me ask you this. This year, because of COVID, first of all, maybe they shouldn't play, but every team has 2, 3, 5, 8 players already with COVID. Should they play, period, now?
Okay, so I said this to a couple friends and colleagues yesterday. I don't see why they're trying to sweat this out anymore and push it to happen. I'm so against it now. It's almost, funny because I love this tournament, but not like this. I don't love this tournament happening the way it's happening. So
Germany has a chance now?
Well, Germany's lost 3 players, if I remember correctly. Sweden's lost 4 players and 3 coaches. Switzerland lost 1. The U.S. said no to 3, Boston University said no to those 3 going, and so they brought in 3 more. And then with that, Canada sent home 5, either who contracted the virus in which forced the quarantine, which they literally just got out of 48 hours ago, or who brought in COVID with them, or long-term effects from COVID that they brought in. So I don't like it like this.
Yeah, and it's 2020, and you know what? This year, they're gonna play the tournament, and this year, more eyes than ever, are gonna be on the World Juniors, and it's funny because more eyes than ever are gonna be on the World Juniors, but more players probably than ever who should be there are not gonna be there. So how tainted is that? Like we still, I still believe it's, Canada, US, Russia, Czechs, whatever, Sweden, Finland, but like you said, Sweden has 3-4 guys there. So could a dark horse team, because of being healthy through the 10-day period, but maybe 2-week period before then, win this?
Because of COVID, there's a chance that a dark horse can appear and change the game. And I mean, look, some selection camps have started overseas. I mean, the U.S. has started their selection camp just a couple days ago in Michigan. Sweden's camp in, not even sure where that's happening, has begun. Germany's camp in Fusen, Germany has also begun. But Canada has been the longest with a 51-day selection camp before heading out to Edmonton, Alberta. Now, at the end of this week, even tomorrow, they're looking to, make their final calls. Then on Saturday morning, they will announce the 25-man roster. And then on Sunday, they will head out of Red Deer and head for Edmonton. And then a 10-day, or yeah, I think that's a 10-day quarantine that begins prior to preseason exhibition games, or pre-tournament, I should say.
Right. Of course, if you don't know, they're having a bubble in Edmonton, one of the places that they had the NHL bubble. We would be going crazy in Canada, World Juniors in Canada, especially fans, because I don't have to tell you, World Juniors with fans, especially wherever they play, even here when they played it here and everything like that, people go crazy. How different, forget about the NHL, because we've seen it with NHL, but World Juniors, junior guys, 17, 18, and all that, need the extra kick that gets you because the crowd goes crazy and all that. How different, forget about COVID and everything. If it was a fair playing field, how different would it be this year without fans?
It's going to be very different. And whereas the NHL was able to pump in some extra noise and they had extra LED boards and things just to, make the environment a little less awkward, the IIHF will not be doing that. So there are going to be difficulties. Players are going to really have to find it within them. I mean, look, this is a really exciting tournament and it's the best one of the year. But, the competition is not going to be the same. We're going to see COVID take its impact through Edmonton, because the one question that I've been asked constantly in the last couple of days is, okay, so if they're only going between the arena and the hotel, how is this virus getting in? And that's a great question. So we're going to see that because of that. We're going to see the virus continue to get in because it's just finding its way and there's no knowing why or how. So, players are going to continue to go down as the tournament progresses, and they're not going to be able to replace them. It's just teams are going to diminish rather than being able to quickly replace these players, because past December 13th, which is just a couple of days from now, if anyone catches COVID, essentially they're done. Those players are on for the tournament, and they cannot replace those players. So just a lot of challenges that we're not used to, but that's part of the whole COVID-19 pandemic. So,
all right. So Justin, I'm going to ask you, in your expert opinion, how does this tournament end up this year? Gold, silver, bronze winners.
That's a good question, because I've taken a look at some of these rosters and I want to say the US and Canada will be fighting for number one again. I mean, they did a year or two ago, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I could even see a team like Czech Republic or maybe Sweden. Again, maybe Sweden, depending on who's left, given their widespread COVID outbreak, taking a number 3 or 4. So again, Canada would trade 1 or 2 with the US. Czech Republic probably 5, Germany 4,
Russia.
Here's the thing, I could see Russia doing one of 2 things, because the Czech Republic, they will have a couple NHL prospects and those who are just having been drafted, including Jan Mysak, a Canadians prospect. So if those key players for any reason go down, that spot is Russia's. But otherwise, I kind of give the upper hand to the Czechs.
All right, so you're not going on the limb. Just say Canada will win. Canada's gold medal.
I mean, the talent is there. I mean, they made a couple cuts the last couple of days. However, within those cuts that they've made yesterday and today, they didn't really lose out on any spectacular talents, which tells me that, again, that's why there will still be a fighting chance despite those cuts, and there will be more cuts probably announced tomorrow morning, as there's a scrimmage going on right now. They're done after 2 periods. Goal scorers are Justin Barron, who I think is going to be the leader of this year's team.
Yeah, you just say that because you like his first name.
He's very talented, and I think that also he has a really unique story, which I wrote about on barnburner.ca. He was battling blood clots while with the Halifax Mooseheads. He was out indefinitely, and long story short, he's made a comeback, and now he's in the World Juniors. So,
yeah, well, it's the greatest time, like they say, the commercials are the greatest time of the year. And of course, 2020, everything's different. Let's see how different the World Juniors this year is going to be. Again, you're watching the Barnburner TV network, also the H.E.R network on ZINGOTV channel 250, 251 with Justin Levine. Here, we're going to talk about your next expertise here, ladies hockey. All right. So let's talk about this. The PWHPA. Let's first start off with that. Today, or maybe it was yesterday, but let's say today for arguments.
earlier this morning, if you're referring to what I think you're referring to.
Okay, earlier this morning, Scotia Bank announced as a major sponsor for the PWHPA. Now, I'm going to ask you this. Like I said, you're the king of ladies hockey, okay? And the CWHL folds after having the biggest year ever that they ever have. Where was Scotia Bank a year and a half ago? Where was Scotia Bank when we need somebody to step up for the Canadian Women Hockey League? Where's Scotia Bank, and for that matter, Tim Hortons, where they put Barbie dolls for hockey players? Okay, when we see the NWHL Toronto Six, you cover the Six and Sticks, playing now out of their home, NWHL to do a season and the Isabel Cup in what, 10-day span? Where's Scotia Bank? Okay, but you know what I mean, 13, 10, whatever. Where's Scotia Bank during those times? How convenient is it for Scotia Bank? Hell, they have the Scotia Bank Arena here in Toronto. They have the Scotia Bank Pond. They have also Scotia Bank in other series. Why not Scotia Bank? The money you're putting out to the PWHPA, put out another $500,000 and start the league.
I mean, here's a really good point that you make, because after Rustan International stepped down, and by the way, they are the founder of the Hockey News, my question was, okay, so steps down and there's still a pro women's hockey league. They're probably not going to last much longer now, but that's unless they find someone. And if we're seeing this, this leadership of groups such as them, Sonnet Insurance and Secret, among many others, start to step up for the PWHPA in this unique season, where was that support? So I will, essentially back you there and saying, why wasn't, a group stepping up when they needed someone to keep the league on its feet? But we didn't see that. And because of that, when the CWHL folded, there was a need for money to be essentially loaned to Jana Hefford and the CWHL to finish paying out both its staff and players. Some of them waited for more than a year to get paid. In addition to small stipends of cash and etc. And that's all because when they wrapped up on, I want to say that was April 4th, where was that support? They didn't have it. And so it's amazing to see what the PWHPA. I love that we're finally starting to see just how much women's hockey means, the value of the game. But if the women's game means that much now, why didn't it mean that much then to keep it afloat? So, there's
after that coming after the best year that they ever had.
Yeah, they had the best year they ever had. They're doing events at like Maple Leaf Gardens again. That was the final CWHL awards show. Victoria Bach of Markham was the Rookie of the Year award winner, going up against Rebecca Leslie and Sarah Nurse. That's just one of them awards I happen to remember. And just the question is, where was that funding then? Why did it take till now? I love that we're there now, but why wasn't it?
But are we there now? Like, what's the next step?
We're starting to see it, but the next question is this whole WNHL concept. When is it going to come to light? Is it going to come to light? Is Gary Bettman going to change his mind and say, you know what, if the NWHL is succeeding, why don't we just do it anyways? Because I think that's what the players are waiting for at this point.
Okay, so we're at the end of 2020 now. Okay, let's stay in 2000. We're fast forward this. I look good still. 2021, December 2021. Are we talking about one league? Are we talking about two leagues? Are we talking about still looking to start a Canadian or an all-together women's hockey league?
From just the kind of things that I'm hearing and in talking with staff as well as players from both sides, respectively, I kind of see it as at the end of the 2021 Dream Gap Tour and 21 bubble in Lake Placid, it sounds like those two sides are not going to come together. So I think what's going to happen is that we are going to see the PWHPA find that investor and essentially become the WNHL. Whoever wants to join the WNHL from the NWHL, if they feel that's better suited for them following that, and and let's say a livable wage becomes doable. And again, we could be a year away from that. We go 5 years. There's no knowing. But point being, if the players feel more comfortable doing that, fine.
Okay, so I talked about this with Andrea. A livable wage. Okay, so I don't have to tell you. Okay. Connor McDavid, $10 million. John Tavares, $11 million. Sidney Crosby, $12, $13 million. Yet they get $10,000, $8,000 a shift. Okay. How much does a team or a player in the P or CWHL, NWHL make? They don't make maybe more than $10,000, $20,000.
Yeah, no, they weren't exactly making more than 10,000 at the very most. So that goes to show you the uncertain climate, I think I'll say, of the women's game. So those challenges have presented itself and are continuing to present itself. And Secret, as they are funding the Dream Gap Tour this year, part of the agreement was that there will be a game-winning cup for the tournaments, and along with that, there will be financial prize winnings. And it's the first time, as they didn't have that last year. Now, again, it's not going to be livable wage prize winning funds. It's just something to add, I don't know, the spice maybe, let's say, to this year's tournament, since they didn't have that last year as a kind of extra incentive, and especially given that there are no fans, just something extra, something fun. I would love to see it more next year if there's a reason to do Dream Gap Tour year 3. But again, we don't know what the state of the game holds and where the WNHL thing stands. So we'll see.
Okay, so you said Sonnet, Secret, now Scotiabank. So it looks like they got the S covered in sponsorship. Okay, but why doesn't these three, and they're big time organizations, let's call it, each put $100,000 on the line? Okay, that's $300,000 that can get you started halfway probably to a league.
There's a good, certainly a good idea, and especially when you consider the fact that Scotiabank also has a foundation that I guess runs under the main arm of the company, which is called Scotia Hockey. And
Yeah.
So when you consider that, they're very open. They do youth programs of all kinds, and that is in the press release from today at pwhpa.com. And so the question is, okay, you consider all that, where's the pro arm? And today they added that pro arm in the sense that they're lending their sponsorship and some sort of financial given as well, along with their youth incentives that they will include in PWHPA sessions when it's not, according to gaming. But, the question is, again, how is that going to translate for the rest of it? And, that remains to be seen. And I mean, so do more sponsors also remain to be seen. I would like to see Tim Hortons be named for a team. I would like to see others named for a team. Nothing that really hits the top of my head right now. I didn't even see Sonnet stepping in, so that was a surprise.
They're going after 3 S companies, right? I'm telling you right now, Starbucks is another S. St. Louis Bar and Grill is another S. Okay, so
if they continue that trend, sure.
You take those, but you get 5 or 6, pay $100,000 to sponsor. You have a league. This league doesn't need more than $1 million or $2 million to start up and succeed. So, and do I have to tell you, Scotiabank, they don't even have to do Scotiabank Hockey Day in Canada. They're advertised all over the place. Are you telling me they're paying the NHL? They're not paying the NHL bigger money than 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 50,000? They're probably paying it. They could be the Scotiabank Women's Hockey League, period. They could start themselves.
There's one idea for sure. And again, we have to remember that as well. Should there be NHL partnerships of any sort, there are 2 arenas in the National Hockey League with Scotiabank's name on it. I mean, that's just one of many possibilities. And look, one sponsor doesn't have to put down more than $1,000 or so. If we see it as, each group accumulates a certain amount, you toss it into one thing, and there's your WNHL, should the money be enough. And again, for the PWHPA this year, I believe there are set to be 5 teams, and now 2 of them have been named. So, $5,000 is a start. Again, I don't know how much it's going to take to have to start a pro league should they need to go in that direction. As again, we don't know when that's coming, if it's even being talked about. So there's just, again, a lot of unanswered questions right now.
All right, so that was the PWHPA. So let's talk about the NWHL. Toronto has an expansion team, the Toronto Six. Like, yeah, you covered Six and Sticks, that we were graced by her president, Digit Murphy. Digit's really like the Don Cherry of ladies hockey, like I always say, and all that. First of all, Toronto Six jerseys, really cool, except for the red one, because I don't want to look like Ottawa and Toronto here, okay? Secondly, Isabel Cup. Not only the Isabel Cup, equated to the Stanley Cup. Okay, Stanley Cup goes for 3 months to win a Stanley Cup. Okay, and you know where I'm going here. They made, and I'm not saying anything. They're announcing a whole season of 5 games. Then you're doing a playoffs, and everything is done. What is it? January 23rd to February 4th, 5th, or something.
I think that's right. Exactly it. Yes.
Okay. 2 weeks. You're playing a season, and you're playing a cup style tournament in 2 weeks. Number one, are you killing the ladies hockey players? Because if you're going to play that, you're playing 8 games in a span of 12, 13 days.
It's certainly a lot, and I thought about that when I saw the game plan finally unveiled. It does sound like a lot. However, that being said, some of these players are used to it, some of them are not. So those who are used to it are going to love it, especially because, they have day jobs too. And when they're not at the ice, they'll be in their hotel rooms doing their day jobs, again, remotely. But at the same time, I've spoken with more than half of Toronto's roster and some players from elsewhere. And the consensus I have is a lot of these players are really excited for the rosters to be, for the game plan to be hockey all the time rather than just their day jobs, because they'll have more time to work out, I think, in the arena. Because again, I know within the ice level, they'll only allow the 2 teams who are set to play in a given afternoon. But, the arena is huge. So I'm sure there's going to be workout space for players to not just focus on work, but also working out and staying in shape and, being their best selves for each game that they play. Again, each of the 5 games that they'll play before the essentially play-in round, which goes into the semifinals, quarterfinals, and Isabel Cup finals. So.
All right, and I gotta say this. I'm gonna be remiss not to advertise it. Isabel Cup, well, the whole season, the Isabel Cup is gonna be played in Lake Placid, New York. Home, I don't have to tell you, 1980. Do you believe in miracles? Do you believe in miracles? It's the first night of Hanukkah. You got to believe in miracles, all right? So, like, at Lake Placid, iconic arena, iconic tournament. This is going to be. Now, for everything we talked about the PWHP, let's talk about the NWHL. When is somebody standing up for this iconic? Where's it going to be seen? Is NBC standing up for it? CBS standing up for it? TSN here in Canada, Sportsnet in Canada? Where's somebody standing up to show? It's a 2-week. It's similar, like, I'm going to say it. It's similar like the World Juniors. If it works for TSN, why hasn't TSN stand up and say, Toronto is playing in this tournament. Toronto has a team in this tournament. Why isn't nobody yet, because who knows if they are or not, going to cover this tournament?
I hear that the general consensus is that there actually seems to be a lot of interest in covering the tournament. Question is, again, who will it be? But there's, again, the wide trend is there sounds like there's interest. Again, I don't know if it's going to be NBC. I don't know if it's going to be TSN. I don't know if it's going to be NBC, then TSN carrying the feed in Canada just to have it on. But I do think it's important that it's not just on Twitch. I think Twitch was a great start. But again, Twitch is on a 3-year deal with the NWHL. And after that, I don't think that's going to be prolonged because they're looking at a long-term product, and Tyler Tumminia at the helm right now. Again, don't know how long she's going to stick at the helm as the commissioner, but part of her, duties while in that role was a TV deal. That was the main part that she herself was brought in for. She's got Danny Ryland, who's still on board, but in a different capacity, looking after private ownership. But Tuminia's role was TV deal, additional sponsorship, something that she's really comfortable in doing with her marketing skills from minor in Major League Baseball. So, I think that she might be able to make a deal happen with NBC, again, given it's in the United States. She's well connected and well versed because she's been in different sports. And I think that the NWHL is a new challenge. And she said that, she has a lot to get done fast. And I think she's very confident in what she's able to do and will accomplish that. It's just a matter of, in these next couple of weeks, while rosters continue to fill out, how does the additional details, how do those impact what this season looks like?
And you mentioned for here, it just makes sense that TSN, with the sports that has the NHL, okay, and they spend billions of dollars for it. But TSN, what do they have? Like right now, they're covering the World Juniors. Is another tournament like the World Juniors, like I said, 10, 12, 13 days. So I think TSN should step up and cover that tournament. All right. So we talk about the Toronto Six. You do Six and Stick show. All right. Toronto Six still, I think they need to fill out their roster with 3 or 4 players. You had the assistant coach on, Coach of Ryerson, on this week. What did she say about filling out the roster?
Well, she actually wasn't sure of how many spots were left to fill, but I did speak to Digit Murphy somewhat recently, and so I do know what that number is. It's somewhere between 4 and 5. So that said, there actually are a couple of extra players at practice tonight at Canlan Ice Sports. I was not told who those players were, but to hear that there are extra players for them to evaluate, and they're going to take their time still, so it could be another week or two before we find out who else is signed, what that looks like. I've even made some suggestions, but I'm doing my.
You made some suggestions to who? To Digit?
I made some suggestions to Digit, and I don't expect to be taken up on any. She said
Digit hasn't told me this. Come on. What are you, not a scout? You're going to leave me because you're a scout for the Toronto Six, or what?
I'm really a scout for them. I was just doing some research, and I pegged one, and she said, and that one player, she said that she actually liked it after, I don't know, supposedly doing some looks after a couple days. But what I think is going on is, I think because Ryerson University is so local and their women's hockey program is so strong, I think that she's looking with Lisa Haley at the Ryerson program, and I think that that's probably, if I had to take a guess, where those extra players who are there tonight are coming from. That's just a guess.
Yeah, well, that's a guess, but Ryerson is a very good team. My alma mater, Ryerson. I know a couple Ryerson players there. You better have said good things about some good players in Ryerson. All right. So, what kind of? I'm going to send you out on a scouting mission. Maybe I should send you to Lake Placid. Scout out.
I don't scout, but having covered U Sports this year, there were a couple that stood out to me. There's one player who's done, Krishanda Green, who, she's been a captain. She's been an alternate captain. So her leadership obviously is there. Olivia Giardetti, I don't know, just based on Olivia Giardetti, she's not technically eligible to go anywhere else but U Sports, or at least I don't think so. But no players were charged eligibility for this year, given that the OUA canceled the season. So there's this minute chance that she might just be able to, if Lisa Haley can work something out. Again, I don't know who the extra players on hand are tonight for evaluation, but again, let's say Olivia Giardetti is one of them, and U Sports is able to work something out. Maybe she ends up being there. I spoke with her, and she said she'd love the opportunity, but again, we don't know what that. So
hold on, for people who don't know, from Ryerson, Olivia Giardetti, how would you classify her? Is she a good player, above average, or what?
Offensively, she doesn't, her impact isn't vast where her numbers are, double digits, and they never really have been, but she's a hard-nosed player. And I think that that's something that, you really look at, and especially one who can play with speed. Her speed is there, and when she scores goals, she knows how to make them look pretty. I'll say that. I was watching her in the McCaw Cup final at U of T. I was watching that via OUA TV, and she impressed me. She stood out. And again, Krishanda Green, I think that her leadership, while she didn't, stand out to me, offensively, I think it's the defensive skills on both that, stood out to me more. But I think that those are two possibilities. Again, I'm a kind of a nobody in youth sports. I'm still getting my foot in the door there. So I don't know what the eligibility rule looks like, but since Krishanda Green is done, I think if Digit's interested in a player like that, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't take an extra leader in the locker room. I think that that's always a good move to make. So,
okay, so this just came to my mind here. Toronto 6 has a team, and fans cannot see him, cannot attend the games this year or whatever. Who knows if the NWHL Toronto 6 team is around next year, because the PWHP may have a new sponsor, a new league, or whatever. If you're in the Toronto 6, do you move from the NWHL to the WNHL?
great question. And here's something really interesting. After each NWHL season, all players become free agents again. Now, what's perhaps funny with that is, despite the fact that they're all free agents, all the players end up in the same spot. So it's like nothing ever happened. But that being said, while they are free agents, they have the right to explore their other options should they wish to do so, whether that be the PWHPA, the SDHL, the SWHL, which are both overseas. They're free to explore their options while they're free agents. They don't have to sign back in the NWHL. They don't have to go back to the same teams. As a matter of fact, we within NWHL rosters. Corin Bowie went to Minnesota from Buffalo. She's been around the NWHL a little bit. Some other Minnesota players are first timers, but yeah, I mean, they've got their rights to explore their options, and I don't think a new sponsor is going to attract it. But I do think a new league is going to be attractive. So look, the Scotiabank and Sonnet sponsors, the players are probably like, okay, this is great for the women's game, but it's not enough to draw them because they also have their sponsorships in the NWHL, and there's more that's coming. Enya Packer said on Tee It Up on Sunday that there's still stuff that she signed an NDA on, and players, and including her wife Madison, don't know. So there's more coming, and we just have to sit tight and wait for it.
And by the way, for Justin, who's mentioning, he's mentioning every show on the network. Tee It Up is by Lindsay Eastwood and Brooke Avery. Check it out, Sunday, 7 p.m. You got to watch that. That is, these two ladies do an amazing job at teeing it up. And their lady bought one. And you know what the cool thing about Tee It Up is? One plays for Riveters, one plays for Toronto 6. And you could see, I just want to see when they do shows, and if they play against each other, it's like, are they chirping at each other? Are they giving each other digs there and all that? But they do really a good show. And you know what? We have ladies hockey covered up and down here between Justin, and you've seen Digit, and you've seen the assistant coach with Justin this week, and Justin mentioned Tee It Up. Tee It Up has a great guest this Sunday at 7. All right, let's get to the National Hockey League. I know we touched on the National Hockey League, but I got some news to report here. As we were in our Twitter group. I was one of the first ones to report the NHL is coming back, 56 games or whatever. And I told you before we went on air today, Justin, that AHL is coming back for a 44-game season. February 1st looks like the target date, and the end date looks like May 30th. Now, I have heard that they're also going to do a Canadian division, 44 games with a Canadian division. What is that, 10 games each team plays or whatever, right? So because the AHL doesn't have 7 even teams there who are Canadian. So, and I hear that some AHL teams may not even play this season. So there's still stuff up in the air there. Also, I have heard and just wanted to tell you this rumor that just came in about 2 hours ago before I went. Phil Kessel, heavily rumored to go to Chicago now.
That's really interesting. But then again, I mean, some of these players are on the move, and we can't really be all that surprised at that. And Phil Kessel has, for the last couple of years, been more so of a trade piece than an item. So, and by an item, I mean a stay item, whereas they don't want to get rid of him. So, not terribly surprised by that. He could be a good fit in the end when you look at Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, Kirby Dack, who is someone who will be with the World Juniors until the end at this point, given that the NHL is not set to start until at least January 13th, and the tournament will be done by then. So, there's potential for a good fit there. I don't think he fit all that well in Arizona, if I'm going to be honest. I don't know that was the right spot for him, but Chicago could present a really good opportunity. So something to keep an eye on.
The guy right there behind you with the C on the sweater got picked number 1. Okay, pick number 1, Alexei Lafreniere, and a lot of people had hopes that he's going to the World Juniors. The New York Rangers, and this is, if you're a Canadian fan, okay, you just mentioned it. It doesn't look like the season's going to start till a week after the World Juniors, but they have chosen not to release him to Team Canada. Is it only because of COVID, or is there something else that we're missing here?
From my end, and being a credentialed member of Hockey Canada selection camp, what it sounds more like is the fact that it's just COVID, because I imagine that what would happen is after the World Juniors tournament ends and between, the season starting and just the blank wide open week, is that there would be a quarantine. And I think they were trying to, at the same time as try and get Alexei familiar with, NHL style play and training, that they were trying to avoid quarantine after the tournament. And any risk of COVID-19, because COVID-19 presents very differently in everyone. It can be the lungs. I've heard reports that, your brain can all of a sudden age 10 years. There are so many different things about this virus that we just still don't know and are still learning. And so they didn't want to take any risk. And so they're just keeping him in New York, where he's been for, I think, the last 3 weeks now, just trying to get his feet under him and get used to, what his new grind is going to look like.
All right. So we mentioned with Andrea here, you're a big Montreal Canadiens fan, okay? So you have a goalie, Carey Price. Do you feel the last 2-3 years he's been wasted?
I've had this discussion so many times. I'm gonna say it again to you, because I don't think I've had this discussion with you specifically. But yeah, I kind of feel like he's been wasted. I think that each year the opportunity seems to almost come closer and closer, but yet it's still so far away. And it's such a shame. He's such a skilled player, and he's a veteran. He wants to win. He wants to stay in Montreal, and he doesn't want to go anywhere else, despite the fact that he hasn't won. He wants to stay in Montreal, where he's familiar. He's from BC, but you don't see him wanting to escape and go to Vancouver. And now he's got Tyler Toffoli with him, former Canuck himself. And Montreal can just bring in that talent. So part of me says, okay, I think, the extra offensive talent might just be the kicker this year, and maybe Price will finally get that cup, but he doesn't want to leave Montreal. That's the reality of the situation. I feel like he's been wasted, but Price obviously feels it's coming, it's closer. And so we just have to wait. And, it kills me inside, because I love the Habs. It's, my family's, legacy almost to, be that invested Habs fan. So that's where I picked it up from. And, the roster is stacked with talent. Carey Price has been around for years. And so I don't want to see that go to waste. And I don't want to see him leave Montreal and retire before he wins one. I believe it's coming. The question is, when is it coming?
And do you believe it's coming in a Montreal Canadian jersey, or is it coming in like Colorado Avalanche jersey?
Oh, it's not coming in an Avalanche jersey.
Like
absolutely not.
Ray Bork or something like that, or you know what I'm saying, right? Coming and winning the Stanley Cup and all that, because ironically, and I don't have to tell you, Colorado Avalanche jersey is like Quebec jersey right now with the reverse retro, right? So it's like that. Imagine if Colorado makes a trade or wants to make a trade finally with Montreal, and Bergeron gives in. I think that is the final piece to the puzzle with Colorado, because if Carey Price goes to Colorado, it's done deal.
Well, in that sense, it's kind of like he's playing for another, so-called home team, as, again, the history of Colorado is originally the Quebec Nordiques. And so that might present a really interesting opportunity in its own way. And the roster there is, what's weird about their roster is they've gotten strong and then they've traded some of their key pieces, and so they've gotten weaker, but then they're starting to get stronger again. They're very up and down. So I don't think he wants to be at a team that continues to be inconsistent in that regard. So I do believe it's coming in a Montreal Canadiens jersey. I'd like to say in the next 3 to 5 years it's coming. I'm hoping it's closer to 3. And I think Tyler Toffoli, having signed a long-term contract, was a really excellent, a really excellent thing for Montreal. Then signing, if I got his first name correctly, Josh Anderson from Columbus on a long-term deal as well.
7-year deal.
7-year deal. I think that I mean, again, we have to remember
that begs the question as to say only one letter. Why?
Yeah, the question is, and I was just about to get into that, because he had reconstructive surgery, and when someone has reconstructive surgery, your career is not the same as you knew it to be before you had that surgery. So they're taking a major risk here, and Bergevin hasn't even really spoken since. And so there's no knowing what the thought was that went into that. And losing Max Domi for the price of that, very, very risky. I was very hesitant on it myself in a way that I was almost uncomfortable in my own skin knowing that was happening, because Max Domi is young and talented, and Josh Anderson, he's young, but his body will never be the same. And so that deal could go to waste very quickly. Anderson says he's healthy, and I'm glad he's healthy. Question is, I don't even know if he's arrived in Broussard yet to take part in camp, but point being, I don't know if he'll be the same him. And if he's not, there's an issue with that trade. So.
Well, it's certainly interesting. Next week, we got the NBA coming. NHL looks like January 13th. And next 2 weeks, World Juniors. And like we talked about a month, the NWHL Isabel Cup. So Justin's going to have us covered here on Barnburner and everything like that. Justin, tell everybody how they could get a hold of you.
You can get a hold of me on Twitter at Justin Levine HBS, and for developing content, especially right now in the World Juniors, at Puck Authority 1, where my amazing staff and myself will be covering. Then my shows here, the OHL Experience, will more likely become the World Juniors Experience from now moving forward as this tournament progresses from selection camp into the tournament.
You got it. Wait a minute. You got a staff at Puck Authority? What's your staff? How many people are your staff? How come you're not bringing your staff here?
Most of them are writers. They're not on-air staff. I don't even have them on my own podcast because a lot of them aren't really the podcasting kind of people, but they're more the.
All right, give them. I'm in a good mood, Hanukkah and all that. Give them a shout out. Your top staff. Go ahead.
My top staff. Well, obviously my best friend and colleague, David_Sis on Twitter, A. Klisevich, who I've actually had on Barnburner once, I believe, closer to the start back in August when I joined, or end of August, that is. I have so many. Costa_Ron Zakos. I've got a lot of talented writing staff. I'm very lucky with the network that I've built there. And then to come to Barnburner and meet a lot of other talented individuals who are the on-air personalities, I'm, very lucky to do what I do. And, I love hockey. And so to be around that community always between Barnburner and my own network is, a privilege every day to, expand that into something else. And final notes as it starts to wrap up, you mentioned that the AHL was actually looking at the possibility of some teams opting out. And what's really interesting about that is through my own network, and I would have never paid attention to the ECHL before, is a lot of their teams I've learned from one of my ECHL writers, most of their teams have opted out. And so my thinking is, why is this league even trying? Especially because they're not even giving a full living wage, much like women's hockey. So why are they doing it? So the AHL, they're also under the same players association. So should that happen, I didn't hear that, especially the AHL has kept very quiet since August. So, should that happen, they're also in trouble. Plus the Toronto Marlies here, just like the Brampton Beasts in the ECHL, also presents another issue for them. So interested to see how that moves forward.
And you'll get us covered on that in the next little while. Okay, Justin. First of all, happy Hanukkah, all the best, and I invite you on tomorrow or next week. Next week, Barnburner Live, our year-end spectacular. We'll talk more about the World Juniors and everything in hockey. But that's Justin Levine. Justin, once again, tell everybody how they get a hold of you.
At Justin Levine HBS, and for my written content, you can find that for the World Juniors at BarnburnerNet and at Puck41.
All right, thanks a lot, Justin.
Thank you.
So we're going to be closing off the show in about 5 minutes here, but I'd like to take this opportunity And a couple of announcements here. First of all, you see or you heard that I mentioned Teresa Kirkland. It's her last Barn Burner Live tonight. Teresa has been a great producer and great help for myself and everybody here at the Barn Burner TV network, the H.E.R network, myself, Eduardo specifically, Eduardo Harari. So I just want a tip of the cap to Teresa here. Thank you for all your hard work and everything you did for us. It hasn't gone unnoticed. And thank you, Teresa. And I hope our paths cross. And anytime, the door is always open. And anytime you want to do more shows or produce or anything like that, just let us know. The door is always open. You're a class act, and I wish you the best in the future endeavors and anything you have. And honestly, anybody who's watching this right now or hearing this, Teresa is a class act, and she's very professional, and she gets the job done. So I urge you to check her out and give her a chance. You won't be disappointed. All right, you won't be disappointed. As I mentioned several times, it's the first day of Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah to all the fans, listeners, and viewers who are watching this on the Barn Burner TV network and the H.E.R network, ZINGOTV channel 250, 251. Also, thanks to ZINGOTV here. All our great friends at ZINGOTV gave us 2 networks. Also, Saturday is my dad's birthday, so I want to wish my dad a very happy early birthday. I'm not going to say how old he is, but a lot of people say they have the best dad in the world. My dad's the best and all that. My dad is the best there is, there was, and there ever will be. I can't say enough how my dad, and for that matter, I got the best mom. And I'm just going to share a little bit something here. I'm blessed with having amazing dad and mom. My sister's pretty good too, okay? Just don't tell Norm that. My sister's pretty good too. But my uncle, who's like a second dad to me, it's the first Hanukkah we're not spending together, and it really hurts me. He's in a home right now. We haven't seen him in a little bit. So I just want him, I know he's not watching, but I have to say this because he's like my second dad, my brother. You're missed, and I love you. He's a big part of my family, and I never say this about him or anything. And, you know, it's as we look back at almost the end of 2020, it's been a terrible year for a lot of people, and you never know what people are going through, fighting mentally, fighting within themselves, and everything like that. So it's very, take the time and appreciate your mom, your dad, your brother, your family now more than ever, because who knows, it's Christmas, Hanukkah, and all that. If you could see your family and all that. My daughter, my love of my life, my daughter, who I haven't seen since September the 18th because of this thing. I really hope I do see her from the holidays and all that. Just my life. So I just still wanted to say all those stuff. And everybody here working at the Barn Burner TV network, the H.E.R network, and like I always say, this is my second family. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all the work you have been doing, from producing like Teresa to hosting to Giancarlo editing out every show, to guys like John Nelson, Steve Carney, Tracy Murray, Drew Ebanks, and here's another thing. I'll leave you with this. I know we got 2 minutes left. Eduardo Harari, who's, you know, you see him on Spanglish Sports World, and you know, he, like myself, we live this network and we do it for the people like Teresa, like all these people who need a voice. Your voice is being heard, you're being seen, you're being heard. Doesn't matter if it's by 1 or 1 million people. You're out there and we're proud that you're representing us. All right. Next Thursday, Barn Burner Live will be the year-end spectacular. We got so many surprises for you great fans and listeners. We will not be doing a Barn Burner Live on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. So next Thursday night will be our year-end spectacular. Thank you for watching and listening to Barn Burner Live here on the Barn Burner TV network on ZingoTV channel 250, the H.E.R network channel 251 on ZingoTV. And remember, in a couple of days, you can hear on the Barn Burner Radio Network, 122 platforms. Once again, thank you to everybody on the show today. Thank you to our great producer, Teresa. You're already missed. This is Joseph Pasek saying good night and stay tuned for more great programs.